Hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. How are you? So today we're going to talk about crazy ass subscribers because I had one of the weirdest experiences yesterday and the day before. We're going to talk about laughing while black. We're going to talk about sleepaway camp because that's one of our subjects of the new Marsha's Plate podcast episode. We're going to talk about trans mummies. There was an interesting tweet and article about this trans mummy that was found in the 1960s that I kind of want to discuss. And then voting while trans. I'm going to give you all some kind of information on voting while trans because voting is important. Voting is important for trans. The election today, Friday, was the last early voting chance that we could do. I think polls are closed at 7, but if you are still in line, you will get counted. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, with the voter suppression tactics, we don't know, but we'll talk about that later. So let's get into who is all here and say hey to everybody in the chat. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Prince. How is everybody doing today? How was your week? My week was crazy. Hey, Cactus. Crazy. Not the, just a lot of rest. Hey, CL, how are y'all? So I missed y'all. I didn't do a show last week because if you are hiding under a rock, you know that Monica Roberts passed away earlier in the month of October, and her memorial services were last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we were a part of those services, and so that was a downtime. And by the time I got home, I did not feel like doing a live show. So if you missed me, I apologize, but we do have lives and out in the world with people passing away that are so important to our community. So yes, that's what happened last week. The services were beautiful. Dee Dee did on a surface level because there was some bullshit going on behind the scenes, but on a surface level, she did an amazing job. Beautiful. The services were beautiful. We were scared that the family wasn't going to come, but they did come. We were scared that there were going to be some tension because it wasn't always affirming, but it wasn't any tension. It just was a beautiful service. Any tension or anything negative that I saw happen at the services, it was beautiful. So that's an update on that. What else? That really is about it. This week has been kind of slow. I'm in the process of writing. So I'm opening up a center for it's for trans women, but it's not just for trans women. I want to open it up for cis women too. Some of the programming, and that's what I am working on. Like working on what we need. Now that we got the funding for it, now it's about figuring out buying the house, buying the facility for we're just in the getting it done stage. So I'm like writing, programming, and writing, and trying to figure out where I want the center to be. It's going to be in Houston, but where I want it to be. So we're in the process of writing all of that out, and it's a lot of work, but that's what we're doing now. And it's going to be such a positive entity in the city for queer folks. And yeah, let's see, I've been homesick this week, and I just came back from home. I rarely get homesick, but that usually means that something is wrong. And the last time I was found out, my grandmother had cancer. So I hope nothing If you went back, I hope you can find any bad news. Hey Darnell, how are you? So, let me tell y'all about these crazy subscribers, okay? Or fans or whatever you. I'm not a celebrity or nothing like that. That's kind of silly. I feel weird about that. But I do have people that have been following me for a long time and um, enjoy my work and enjoy the content that I create online. So, I rarely have any issues with people. Um, you'll have the random person coming on. Like y'all have seen if you've been on the live a minute, somebody come on, oh, you got a deep voice. Are you a man or a woman? Are you trans? Or some weird, creepy ass transphobic shit. Or genuinely asking the question and don't know that that's inappropriate. That level of like cultural competency, ignorance that some people have. Y'all see that. And so those little moments, you'll have those little moments that comes with the territory of being a trans person online, creating content or anything like that. So that's quite normal. But there's sometimes where it just goes quite too far. It goes like really wildly left, where you're like, what is happening? And so recently, as I just told y'all, Monica Roberts, who is a civil rights icon, the trans griot, passed away. And if anyone knows me and Monica, I'm one of her closest friends. She is me, her, and Kamarian Anderson. Kamarian Anderson specifically was one of the founding trans women, but a part of the steering committee was me and Monica Roberts. And so we've been friends since 2000 and like friends. We've been knowing each other, but actual friends since 2008. Yeah, since 2008. And so, but we've been knowing each other because we transitioned a year. I transitioned a year after her. So I transitioned like in 95. She transitioned in like 94. And so her being like a historian and paying attention to stuff like she's written about me when I was younger, on just different stuff that she was doing like in Louisville. And so we just had a intimately close relationship. She lives like almost 6 blocks away from me. If I go to Kroger's, I'm calling her saying, bitch, you need me to pick you up something from Kroger's. This is what we do. And so yeah. So a lot of people around the globe, because Monica was a celebrity, um, and so many people knew her around the globe, and would hit me up saying, condolences. I know how close you were to her. Blah 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 blah. All this kind of stuff. Just really nice and genuine, and just really nice, sweet things to say. So day before yesterday, this girl hit me up. And I don't want to call her a girl because she's older than me. Um, this grown ass woman hit me up, and initially the conversation was about, oh, well, okay. Now this ain't the first time she hit me up. She's hit me up. She has a personality that's like very, hey Elle, how are you? Thank you. I look cute. I look cute today. I have on this pleated like chartreuse skirt. It's a little cute. Trying to be classy, schoolmarm fish, honey. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, so she's hit me up, but she's very sometimes people. So I'm not very Branson. I try. um, when people hit me up from the internet that I don't know, sometimes because I share so much of my life on the internet and I'm so open and I'm so friendly and I'm so kiki da 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 da. Sometimes they think they're more intimately involved with me than they actually are. Um, I'm very reserved when it comes to people. Like I can be on the camera and kikiing and we talking and chitting da 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 da. But when it comes to my in-person real life, that's my in-person real life. I don't just bring people into that. I hope that makes sense. So coming talking to me like we are the best of friends or like we know each other personally, it's kind of like what? It's kind of like what's happening here for me. And so thank you, Anne. So but this has happened to me multiple times as a person who creates content. So I have grown accustomed to dealing with it in a way that's like humble and nice, like, oh, thank you. And yes, oh my God, thank you for listening and just kind of talking back and forth, but very general, just kind of talking and not making it awkward or not being, oh yes, I'm that girl and da 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 da. That ain't me. So I still talk to anybody who hits me up. But there's certain ones that has a level of forcefulness that is like, here's my number. You need to call me. And then tomorrow, after they sent their number, why you didn't call me? I told you to call me. And you're like, bitch, I don't know you. Why would I be calling some random motherfucker that just sent me their number? But there's a aggression with some of them that is like, yo, calm down. I don't know you like that. And it puts you in a situation where you have to balance being humble and setting boundaries. But some people got mental issues. So when you set those boundaries, like, oh, I don't really call people that I don't know from the internet. We don't know each other. And when you do that, they like, oh, she thinks she all that. Especially, I hate to say this, but especially as a light-skinned woman, sometimes people that light-skinned think you all that is in people's mind. And when you do something they don't like, it comes out. She thinks she all that. She thinks she did it. And you're like, bitch, no, I'm just setting boundaries with you. It don't have nothing to do with my skin color. It don't have nothing to do with me thinking I'm more than what I am. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Bitch, you're asking me to call you and I don't know you. Or you're asking me to do something this is super, 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 super common. Somebody will hit me up and say, oh, here's my GoFundMe. Can you share this to your people? I don't know anything about you. I don't know if you're a scam. I don't know what's happening with your GoFundMe. I don't know who is benefiting from this. I'm not sharing it to my people because I don't know you. Only thing that I share to my people is people that I know are legit, that are not scamming them for money. You trying to get your surgeries done is not something that I would share. You trying to get your titties done. You trying to get your bottom surgery. You trying to get just some whatever creepy ass fucking GoFundMe that you trying to, not creepy, but it may be legit, but I don't know you. So I'm not just sharing somebody's GoFundMe. So don't get in my inbox and be like, oh, well, share this. Oh, where did it? No, I'm not doing that. Or if you got some kind of movement that you got going on. If you have something that I find interesting, I want to, there's things that I share that I don't know nothing about, but because it's connected to people that I know, there are cues. You know, like when you can tell somebody is spam or they're about to hit you with some motherfucking send me your Cash App type of shit. Like it's cues. Or like when you this has totally nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but you know how if you look at a dude, if you date men, if you look at a dude online and he's black, you can tell when the dude is African, even though he may like look like a black dude that you have regular African American black, but you can tell that this dude is African. It's something about how his pictures are, how his posts are, how he talks to you, that this is an African man. This is not a black American man. There's little subtle hints in those. Do y'all know? Does that make sense? Does that make any sense to y'all? Because I'm like, I date men. So, and I date dark skinned men. usually. And so I can tell when a dude is African, and I'll clock it, and I'll be like, "Are you African?" And um, they'll say, "Yeah." How did you know? Because they will think that nothing about their profile screams African, but it does. And so it's like that. If you have some type of movement or some type of organizing thing, I can look at it. I can look at it and tell if this is legit. It's like you can just tell when like if you go to a website that is like fucking satire, you know that this is the bullshit ass website. It's like you know that this is not real. This is not research. This is not legit. And so for me, sometimes I will see something and I see it's connected to people that I know who do work. It's connected to people who I know are legit organizations. So there are cues in my mind that says, oh, this is something legit. So I'm going to share it because I believe that it's legit. 99.9% of the time I'm right. So somebody will send me something and I'll be like, what? This doesn't make sense. This whatever you're trying to get me to share, this ain't something. This kind of shakes up my integrity, and I don't want to share it. And so sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you think you out at? Oh, you think you did it?" And I'm like, it really is not about any of that. So this girl, this older woman, I keep calling her a girl. She's old. This older woman, when she would contact me, like for example, the first time she ever hit me up, she was on a live here. She's blocked now, so she can't be on here. But she was on here, and whatever I was saying about whatever topic I was talking about, she sent me a message on Facebook. So if I'm talking about something on here, talk to it to me on here. Don't wait till it's over and then come in my inbox and get to talking to me about your opinion about my opinion. That's too personal for me. We don't know each other. And maybe that's me thinking too far into like making expectations. But that 101 time for me is too personal. It's too personal for me. So especially if it's not presented in a certain way, like, or especially critiques, especially unthought out critiques of somebody who is, if you haven't thought out your critiques of what I said and you're giving me a critique, it's very annoying to me because not only are you coming into my one-on-one space, critique me in the open space so we can all talk about it, because I do this as a learning tool for people to listen and learn something. I'm not about to be your one-on-one teacher. I'm not a tutor. And so she came to me with a critique that didn't make sense. And so I broke it, but I remember I'm a humble girl. I took the time. I didn't say, oh no, we're not having it, because I didn't want to be rude and because I wasn't doing anything. So, okay, girl, let's talk. And so we sit down and talk. So even though that's an uncomfortable boundary for me, I had the time, so I gave her the time. And so I broke it down to her about whatever, let's say whatever thing. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, okay, I see what you're saying. So in my mind, this is a learning moment for her. And it didn't hurt anybody. We had our one-on-one time. Cool. So the next time she hits me up is to share some type of GoFundMe. Then the next time she hits me up is for me to join some Facebook group movement that she wanted me to be involved in. And every time she tries to hit me up, it feels like she's trying to be on the bandwagon of something. She's trying to do something that's already done. I'm the type of person, I'm an organizer. I'm not going to try to start something unless I'm going to do it in a different way that feels a need that is not happening where I'm at, for example. So if I'm going to create some kind of home for trans women, it's going to be in a location that doesn't have a home for trans women. In Houston, we only have one, and it centers Latinx people, and they rarely service Black trans women. And so, she tries. And if I see a work, I see something that's already being done, I'm not going to try to start it. I'm going to say, oh, go, if you want to start, if you want to support, there's somebody already doing that. Go over and see if you can help them. That's my personality. There's somebody that's already doing that. So she was doing things that I felt like were already being done. So I was just looking at her like it would just be on red and I wouldn't respond to it. So anyway, fast forward to day before yesterday. She get to talking to me about Monica's legacy. And she gets to talking about it in a way of continuing her name. We should continue her name. We should do this. I want to get her in the Smithsonian and I want to continue her work. Her work is just too important. We should really continue her legacy. And so in the moment, my brain did this. I was like, okay, maybe this woman doesn't have any, maybe she has some, I already feel like she has a mental issue just based on how we've talked in the past. There's some people who I feel like they just have, I call them, me and my friends call them tick, tick, booms. We feel like people have different tick, tick, booms. It's a little thing in every single person that's a little crazy about them. And so some people's are more pronounced. Some people's tick, tick, booms are more pronounced than others. And some people, their tick, tick, booms are so pronounced that you can't handle being friends with them. Some people can, but there's some people who I can't handle being friends with you because your tick, tick, boom is too strong. I can't get around it. And then there's some people tick, tick, boom that you like, okay, I can deal with this. She crazy, but she cool. I live for the rest of her. You see what I'm saying? Your friends, you and your friends probably have tick, tick, booms, but y'all can deal with each other's tick, tick, booms. I do. So I, some things I can't deal with. You feel what I'm saying? So she has a tick, tick, boom because we are separated. I'm not in front of her. I'm picking up a tick, tick, boom. Like I'm picking up some crazy in her, but it's a crazy that doesn't really impede on my comfort. So we can chat and we can talk, blah, 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 blah. But I'm picking it up. So in this moment that she's talking about Monica, I'm picking up that her tick, tick, boom is just she's not self-aware. One of her tick, tick, booms is that she's not self-aware of boundaries. And so I say, well, this conversation is I'm being really, really nice. Really, really nice. I'm saying, well, this conversation is quite inappropriate. It's a little too soon. I think that, and she was coming to me like asking me, will I help her with continuing Monica's legacy? And I was like, well, Monica is if you are friends with me on Facebook, which I don't mind people being friends and commenting on posts and stuff like that. I actually post the whole conversation. And I basically tell her that I think this is too soon for this conversation that you're having. I literally just buried my friend not even less than a week ago. I think this kind of conversation is quite inappropriate and too soon. But at this point, I'm not angry at her. At this point, I'm not angry because I think she's kind of touched, like off. And so I don't think she may be mentally aware that this is inappropriate. And so I'm not angry, but I feel like I'm being tender, very, very tender, even though she's not being tender to that I just not killed my friend, that I just buried my friend. You're not being sensitive to that. But I'm going to be tender to you. Okay, sweetie. So this is inappropriate. This is too soon. Give me some time and we can talk about this. But also, let me add to this. I am not the gatekeeper of Monica's legacy. I'm not the gatekeeper. Her legacy is so huge that whatever she inspires you to do, you can go ahead and do it. You can go ahead and flourish. I'm not the gatekeeper. You don't need to wait for me. Do your thing. Right? So when I say that, instead of her taking that as a hint, She gets to talking about, well, did she trademark her name? Because I feel like it should go on as Trans Griot. That's a really important how she thought about that. Did she trademark her name? And she goes sending me these long ass fucking voice messages and these long ass paragraphs about what I just told you is too soon to talk about, but then you go deeper and deeper into the business side of it. So now I'm pissed because my friend hasn't been in the grave for a week, and you're talking to me about whether or not she trademarked Trans Griot because you or whoever you think should do it, you have this some grand idea about how you think her legacy should be on. This doesn't make sense. So you are either, but now this is pissing me off because, okay, it's getting to the point where you're continuing, and I gave you the hint. So I had ignored her. Like, I totally ignored the message that she sent because she's not getting the point. But I don't want to cuss her out because I know in my mind that she's off mentally. Okay, so I go to sleep. Child, do you know when I woke up the next morning, there was 3 more messages? And I don't know about y'all, but I'm cranky in the morning. Cranky. That's the best way to get cussed out, is to be on some fuck shit when I wake up. That is just the truth. So I sent her a message, still not cussing her out, but I sent her a message and I say, look, sweetie, I tried to give you a hint. Let me actually read it to y'all so y'all can see what I'm talking about. So she says, oh, and then within the conversation, she was dropping these names because I was telling her that I didn't want to talk about it. She keeps saying, well, I'll talk to Carter. I'll talk to D. I talk to Javon about it. Like, dropping these names of other people who are cool with Monica. Javon, not that close, but cool. Carter is a part of our organization. He's the trans masculine side of our organization. Dee, a close friend of hers. Me, a close friend of hers. And but you keep dropping these names like you're popping me. Like, if you can't do it, I'll go to somebody else. And in my mind, I'm like, I already told you early in the conversation, I am not the gatekeeper. I'm not ever going to put myself in a position to be the gatekeeper of Monica's legacy. That's not my ministry. I'm not going to do that. It's too many people's lives that she has affected and inspired. So she goes in to say, well, I'm going to wait for Dee Dee to tell me how I can help. That was the last message she said that I woke up to. Now, me and Dee Dee going through our issues because how she handled this on a surface level, it was beautiful. The underbelly, also laid and shady. So we are going through our little situation. So I say, wonderful. I think that Dee Dee would be a better option for a conversation because it's on brand. But let me suggest that you wait a little bit longer. I would suggest at least a month, because I think this is the most inappropriate, tacky, tone-deaf conversation that I have ever had in my life. I said it earlier in a more subtle way, thinking that you would get the hint. I feel it's quite inappropriate and too soon. I said that earlier. I buried my friend less than a week ago, and you're bringing up whether or not she is trademarked or not. I am flabbergasted that you don't even have one bit of reservation or inkling about how inappropriate the conversation is at the moment. I am literally in awe. I am going to delete you, and I wish you better discernment in your future endeavors. That's my last message to her. Deleted her and blocked her. Okay? in the message, so because I've been getting these weird messages, not this weird, but I've been getting these weird messages about Monica. I wanted people to know that this is like inappropriate. So don't come to me like this. So what I do, I take the conversation, I screenshot it, but I screenshot it in a way that doesn't indicate who she is at all. Not her name, not her number, not anything in it that would indicate, just the words. You know how you can screenshot just the words, not people pictures and all that kind of shit. So, but the point of me posting it was so people can, who are on my timeline, no, don't hit me up about Monica shit right now. This is inappropriate because people, they didn't go as far as her. Usually they would get the hint. They didn't go as far as her, but people are hitting me up about Monica stuff. And I'm like, yo, this conversation is too soon. So instead of leaving me alone, she comes all the way to another site, comes to YouTube and comment on a video, random video. And I'm like, training herself and or trying to get them to defend her. And everybody is saying, sweetie, you were wrong. It was too soon. What you were talking about further down the line would be a beautiful thing. But you're talking to her friend about trademarks and stuff when she just buried her friend. You don't see, and she literally did not see the wrongness of what was happening in this situation. And when people sending me screenshots of inboxes and posts that she's commenting on that has nothing to do with that. She seems, I'm just like, this lady is crazy. So much so that she sent a message to my organization. But I was in the message, but about another one of the ladies that she hit up is an elder, Renee Taylor. She's a non-binary, they are non-binary trans person on the trans feminine side. And because she was defending me and saying that I think you're wrong, like, lady, it's just weird. She literally sent a letter to our organization trying to get her fired from her job. Now, you really have to be dumb, because how are you going to send a letter to the organization that I'm the executive director at about firing someone that is defending me? Who do you think got the letter? I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. But also, the position that I'm in, the only people I have to answer to is my board. Guess who's on my board? Dee Waters, Monica Roberts, and me. Monica Roberts is in here. So who am I answering to? Who, sweetie? Like, you have no, and another good thing is that because we're funded generally, we don't have to kiss people's ass. We are a Black-led organization. We read motherfuckers all the time because of their anti-Blackness. You know why we can do that? It's because we're not in the pockets of some corporation. We're not in the pockets of some corporation where we got to follow their rules. That's not how it works at our organization. And so you come and trying to get this girl fired because she's telling you that it's too soon to be talking about Monica Roberts, you taking over her legacy, or you and whoever else trying to take over her legacy. You are stupid and trash. Or I will sue you all. You all are bullying me and blah, blah. Nobody would have known that you were even the person if you would have just been quiet, because nothing indicated it was you. Nothing. Because I went in the screenshot, I cut you all out. So you are a trash person, and clearly you have some mental issues. But yes, that's my crazy subscriber situation that just happened yesterday and today. Just weird, just a weird person. And then once it was exposed, because once she was being extra, I put a new screenshot up to who she is, and everybody was like, "Oh, I know her. She's an asshole." Everybody was like, "Oh, she does this to me too. She's super inappropriate. She doesn't know boundaries. She's like, she tries to bully you into a friendship when you don't know her." Like everybody is saying the same exact thing about how her personality is. Exactly, Cactus. So crazy ass people, um, very late and tired. All right, so let's go on to the next subject. Let's see. So I did a interview with Sam Riddell. Sam Riddell, if you don't know who she is a, let me make sure I'm in the right thing. Yes, she is a podcaster like me. She runs the Inner Hoe Uprising podcast. You just, if you are on any podcast platform, you just search for Inner Hoe Uprising. Um, but she did an interview for me for why.org, and I'm gonna put the link in the bottom right there. It is me, this other podcast. There's just three groups of podcasters: Marsha's Plate, um, a black guy who tips, and Tea with Queen and Jay. And we were talking about laughing, using laughter as like a coping tool during, just when anything goes on. When we talk about black folks using comedy, look, I think about Black Twitter. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, Black Twitter will make a joke of it. Right? It will be a joke. It's just something that we are accustomed to doing. And so we were talking about, she did a great article with us about, damn, I'm trying to be incognito with my little sipping utensil, because I can't say that I'm sipping because it'll be demonetized. And I'm pouring entirely too much. So so she did a good article just about explaining humor in the black community. And then in she interviewed me, and in the context I was talking about humor being a tool to punch down on marginalized people. And then, when we talk about people like Flame Monroe, when we talk about people like Dave Chappelle, when we talk about people, there's a lesbian that was punching down, that was had some transphobic jokes on her Netflix special too recently. Something J, something J. Um, but yes, she did this. She did this great interview. So check it out. That's the link. What I wanted to ask y'all and have a discussion is about is when does humor go too far for y'all? Well, give me an incident or a time where somebody was making a joke on a public stage or a public in a public situation, not your personal life, because or if you have a story that you can explain that too. Um, where we can all get the context where humor kind of went too far. So in my portion of the article, I was talking about Dave Chappelle and when he called everybody in the LGBT community the alphabet people. So when he called everybody that, now mind you, I'm a fan of Dave Chappelle, so I think he is funny. I do think he's funny. I did an article with Essence. Let me see if I can find that. Mm. Where I kind of analyze Sticks and Stones. Sticks and Stones. Okay, here we go. So I found it. So here's the article for Essence. And I was talking about Essence in a way. I was talking about David Chappelle in a way, how like I think he's a brilliant comedian and I think he's smarter than punching down in the way that he does. It's like low hanging fruit. And I feel like he doesn't need to do that because he is a brilliant comedian and he can do it a little bit in a more tasteful way. But I can't control somebody's artistry, but I just wanted to kind of point it out in my article for them. So in that moment, that was a perfect example of how you're trying to act like that you don't have any power over culture, but you actually do. In that moment where you called us alphabet people, I had never heard somebody say that. But after he puts it out there, I've heard it. I've heard people use it. I heard people use it online. I heard people use it on the bus. I heard people use it on the train. I heard people use it on the plane. I heard people use it out in the world. Nobody was calling trans folks as a pejorative, the alphabet people, until you started to do it. So, yes, you have this artistry, but you also are adding fuel to the fire of our ridicule, of because the difference is you're a comedian, you're going to be on stage doing your comedy and go off. The people in the audience is going to laugh and they're going to go home, blah, 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 blah. But that dumbass nigga, that dumb, ignorant nigga on the bus can use that as a tool to be negative to some trans person and it can escalate to an incident of violence. So you may not think that you have impact on the outside world, but you actually do. And we've seen this in action. We've seen these celebrities or these people who do things that they think is, oh, it's just jokes or it's just this. But this can lead to people. It can lead to actions where a regular person, it can turn into harm for them. Is that harm your fault? No. Nobody is saying that the harm, if this crazy ass fool attacks a trans woman, that incident is your fault. But you and your rhetoric can add to the fuel that leads to it. Got it? I hope that makes sense. And so in the article with Sam Waddell, I just was kind of trying to explain that and how it's like a nuanced situation because I can listen to Dave Chappelle and laugh at inappropriate jokes. I have one of the most morbid sense of humor where things that other people might not find funny, I find funny. And it could be a tacky, inappropriate joke, but that's what makes it funny. Like, what are you making this joke? A joke I wouldn't make, but if I hear it and it's super, super inappropriate but funny, I'll laugh. Does it make sense? So is there any incidents that y'all have experienced where y'all saw, humor that went too far or humor that you found funny, but it also went too far? That kind of nuance of it being, ooh, cringy, but you feel what I'm saying? Have y'all had a situation like that? Hey, Lay, how are you? While y'all respond, I'm gonna go back up and read some stuff. You will make a great professor. Oh, you know what? Recently, I've had her on my YouTube channel. It's Dr. Montanique Ekekern. Um, all right, Lay. um, recently, Dr. Montanique Ekekern, she had me on as like a guest lecturer at her for her students about her students were they're going to be therapists and she is teaching one of her classes and she invited me to talk about my experiences as a trans woman and my experiences as a black trans woman, and It was so fun. It was so fun. Um, and on our analytics on Marsha's Plate, a lot of people are using particular episodes in their curriculum all across the country in different colleges. So they will put in their curriculum. You know how if you went to college, they'll put in, you need to read this book, this book, this book, watch this video, watch this website, go study this website, a part of their curriculum. So a lot of people are putting certain episodes of our show within their curriculum. So I'm seeing the analytics. I'm seeing the analytics of the links in from school. So it's so amazing. I'm talking about like Wake Forest, where I love Wake Forest because Melissa Harris Perry is there, the African American Studies professor, and she's there, and I really look up to her. So I don't think it's her, but any teacher that is putting me my work there, I'm like, yes, my work is in that school. Syracuse, Columbia, Pacific Lutheran University in Seattle, ACLU, University of Houston in Texas, University of Texas in Austin. I keep seeing these links in my analytics, and I'm like, oh my God. I always wanted to be a teacher, but because of my transness, I felt like it would have been at the time when I was younger, trans teachers were being harassed and fired from school systems. So when I was in high school, there was a lot of anybody who came out as trans or transitioned at school, they would be pushed out of the teaching business. They would be pushed out of their jobs. So I knew that my transness would hinder me being a teacher. And so I just went another route. But the fact that my work being, I spoke at Stanford. That was a highlight of my time, not to center white institutions, child, no. But just because it's Stanford, it's like, oh my God, I'm coming to Stanford and getting paid by Stanford to come and speak, which is also on YouTube. But it's like a surreal, I'm a ghetto, honey, escort, trans woman that, honey, that don't code switch. So being able to be in that space is kind of is dope. But yeah, I did want to become a teacher actually when I was in high school. My English teacher actually inspired that. She was like, "You need to be a teacher." She was trying to get me to be a teacher, but she always was also was trying to get me to just be a man. She didn't want me to transition at all. She was like, "You're too brilliant, and that's gonna stop this, and that's gonna stop that." I was like, "No, I'm trying to be a woman. Get out of my face." Thank you, Prince. Thank you. Where's the video with Dr. Money? Let me see. Let me see if I can find the link for you. Yes. Let me see. Let me love you. Share the link. Yes, here we go. There it goes, Lay. Oh, thank you. I didn't know you did it, Brandon. I don't know why I didn't read that. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon be on it. That's why you my moderator. I love you. Thank you. You would be such a dope preschool teacher. I don't think I have the patience for preschool, but I have the patience for high school and college. I need people who got a grown mind because I envision. I don't want to teach you the basics like how to read. That would get boring to me. I want more complex concepts to be able to teach. Um, but preschool, I don't have the patience for that. I don't think. Mm-mm. Yeah, and I don't want to. And you are. That's too close proximity to parents. I don't. I want. I really would be more comfortable in college, but I could do high school too. But because by high school, parents are kind of distant. But preschool, you're confusing my children with this trendy stuff. No. Uh, yeah, I couldn't do kids. Yeah. It's not that I couldn't do kids. It's at first I would be bored with the subject. Are kids and teaching them so on a basic level that I would be bored with the subject matter. But if I have any transphobic ass fucking teachers, I would be pissed off. Um, um, let's see. Will you interview Tracy Africa? Oh my God, I would love to interview Tracy Africa. I think she's amazing. I actually haven't hit her up, so we've been on a break for a month on the show. Let me put her name on here, Tracy, on my list of potential guests. Not that I didn't think about Tracy, but I had already posted her before on my YouTube, and so I was like, that should just her. But yeah, I could do an interview with her. That'd be amazing. So I can hit her up and see what the tea is. Um, yeah. So who is on my list of people that I am probably going to interview this season? So we take if you don't listen to Marsha's Plate, we are a podcast that explore current events through a trans perspective. It is me, Mia Mix, who's a trans woman, and Z, who is a trans man. They are in a coupling, a trans on trans coupling. So we talk about that sometimes, their relationship and how they're navigating that. But we talk about current events, transness, and from or current events from a trans perspective. And so we always go on break on October, so we haven't recorded. We record for the first time in a month. I miss them um, on Monday. And yeah, so I always have a list of people who I want to have on the show. And currently, now, just so y'all know, there are some people that I have reached out to that have ignored me. And I don't keep breaking my neck. I'll keep breaking my neck to get people on the show. That ain't my ministry. When I reach out, if I'm ignored or if they give me some kind of excuse, I'm like, oh, okay, and leave it at that. Um, so I will be having these people are not confirmed, but these are people who I have the intention of contacting. Um, Jay from Tea with Queen and Jay. She is a demisexual, so I want to have her on the show talking about demisexuality. Um, there's a trans guy. I don't want to say his name right now, but he is really open about his phalloplasty, which is bottom surgery for trans men. T.S. Madison. We are doing, I have contacted T.S. Madison in the past and I was ignored, but we are doing an event together. And I guess that put us in the position to do something. So I can't tell you about the event yet, but we're doing an event together. And it kind of made the connection. Not that I think that she has people. When I hit her up, she was going through a change in management. Y'all know she had that incident where she was not fucking with not dinosexual, demisexual, DEMI sexual, DEMI. When I hit her up, she was going through that incident with her gay male manager or something. So I think I got lost in translation, or the new person was being weird, or I don't know. I don't want to speculate on what happened, but she was getting into it at the time, and I didn't know because it was before it was made public. She was getting into it at the time with her manager, or it's the gay guy. I think it was Gio. And so I think my messages in that whole situation got lost in translation. So, but it's all good now. So eventually she should be on the show. Sam Riddell, who did the article that I just was talking about earlier, she's a podcaster of the host of Inner Whole Uprising about sex, love, and dating. And she's a very sexually liberated woman. And I want to talk to her about being sexually liberated. And there's another girl who has a podcast name called The Sexually Liberated Woman. And Evian Whitney, and I want to have her on that show as well. Aria Saeed from the Transgender Cultural District in San Francisco. She has something major. She's a plus size trans woman, and she has something really, really major coming up that I want to interview her about when it's about to launch. And so something really, really major. So I'm like, ooh. She's my friend, and I'm so excited for her. So she has something coming up that we can't talk about yet. But when she does it, I want to interview her about it. And leading on the level that she does, being a trans leader at the level that she does. Because she does leadership in a very activist, organizer way, not activist, organizer way that actually lead to policy change and action and that kind of stuff. Some people are just advocates. They just talk about it and advocate for stuff. They just get on their platforms and they just talk. They don't actually do the actual behind the scene work that makes conditional change in community. And she does that. So I wanted to talk to her about doing activism work on that level. So she's going to be a great guest. And who else? And you just added Tracy Africa, so I will add her to my list. Who else? If y'all got any other suggestions, somebody somebody doing stuff, because sometimes people be suggesting I talk to people just because they're popular, but they're not really doing work. And then sometimes, and when I say work, I'm not just talking about organizing work. I'm talking about like pushing the culture in a different direction, doing some groundbreaking stuff. And I don't always want to talk to trans folks. What non-trans people? Oh, Mariah Moore has been on the show. But she's gonna get her on. Oh, Amber Abundance is on my list. That is a good friend, Amber Abundance. She's definitely coming on the show. Amber has a big ass fucking schedule. Because she's doing work. So yes, Mariah Moore. I don't think it's gonna be soon, but before 2021 is over, Mariah Moore will be on the show. Wendy Cooper, I have a connection to her, but I've actually featured her work on the show, but I haven't interviewed her. Does that make sense? I haven't interviewed, but I have featured Wendy Cooper on the show. But Mariah Moore is definitely going to be on the show. That is a close friend as well. Maya Scott, I have actually reached out to her and she ignored me. So I have reached out to Amaya. Her and T.S. Madison didn't respond to me at all. Which was kind of wild. India Moore. Maybe. I'd rather I have Angelica Ross, who I have reached out to, but she has an album coming out, so we're trying to wait till that album hit. So I reached out to Trace Lissette. I reached out to Angelica Ross because I love Angelica vibe. India, I don't dislike India at all. Um, I want to know what's going on. What I would want to talk about. I want to know what's going on with her dating this rapist, and so it would not be me. It would not be me if I had her on the show and not talked about that. And if she wasn't ready to talk about it, why are you here? You see what I'm saying? Like it would be so weird. I would. That's what I want to talk about, girl. And so I don't think she wants to talk about that. So why are you here? Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense. It's like, girl, I'm not going to not talk about that. How about Rod and Karen from Black Eye Who Tips? Maybe Rod. I like Rod as a cishet guy. That would be cool. Rod would be cool. Yeah. Um, but yes. But I really feel like, what about Sanaya Braxton from Ballroom? She was on the post show. I know Sanaya Braxton. I never really thought about her. I don't know. That's a good suggestion. I never really thought about her because I'm kind of anti ballroom. I think ballroom is antiquated, and I know it's getting real popular now. I feel like it's rooted in white supremacy and colorism. Also feel like it's rooted in cis heteronormativity, like the realness categories. I feel like we needed that in the '80s and shit. I feel like um, we needed it back then because we were in a place politically and culturally where we were trying to prove that we were just like them. Let me give it a racial context, okay? So Phyllis Whitley, is that her name? Phyllis Wheatley, the poet from back in the day, the slave poet, that her white teacher taught her how to read and write, even when it was illegal. And so in that time, they were trying to prove that African Americans, because of the rhetoric, um, I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. So just go back to any subject that we talk about, ballroom. I'll talk about this. Okay? Back then, because of the rhetoric around Black people being subhuman, Black people being beneath white people, they had to prove that they were just as refined, just as intelligent, just able to do these normal basic ass things as white people if you give them the chance to do it. Like there was a time in our culture where we had, because of the rhetoric that was being spilled out and the lies and the bullshit and the false science, we had to prove that we can write poetry, right? Look, Frederick Douglass had a whole campaign of imaging that he did, which was image activism, where he literally took pictures of Black people in um, took pictures of Black people in refined clothing to show people, look, Black people can be just as refined if you give them the chance. You just forcing them to dress like this, like literally. It used to be part of the culture that if you see a Black person um, walking, if white people would see Black people walking down the street in fancy clothes, it would be, you a uppity nigger, put some dusty clothes on because you're not supposed to be looking like that. This was a time in our culture where where that was a part of the fucking rhetoric. And so we needed to prove, we needed to have a Phyllis Whitley, we needed to have a W.E.B. Du Bois, we needed to have a Booker T. Washington, we needed to have these certain levels of respectability, really, that we needed to prove that we can be just like them. But now, right now, That's antiquated. We, the black people, don't need to do that anymore. Why the fuck are we doing that? Why would we as black people who know that we can do all that shit and more in this day and time try to do that now? So that's how I feel about realness categories in ballroom. Because back then, yes, we were pushing out. People were not hiring you because you were trans or gay. People were not even giving you a chance to get in the door because you were trans or gay. And so at that time, the balls was about, look, we can look exactly like them. We can be exactly like them. And that was cute back then. I don't think that that's cute now. I think setting cis heteronormativity as the standard is going backwards. I feel like it doesn't make room for people who don't pass. It forces in that mindset that if you don't look like a cisgender person, that you aren't worthy. Your transition is a failure. And there are people that no matter what surgeries they get, they're not going to pass. There are some people who get surgeries and it makes them pass even less because their surgery makes them look oversurged and look like a whole person, surged trans person. It's so many things that, to me, I think that it does a disservice to where we're trying to go forward. Going forward, I feel, this is just my humble opinion. Going forward, I feel like we should be fighting for people wherever they are in their passability to be able to be treated fairly and be treated nicely. And so setting up the standard of cisgender heteronormativity as the standard, that's like setting up white supremacy and white culture as the standard for black people. That is not the standard. No, we are who we are. We have different things that we do with our hair, different things that we do, how we talk, how we speak, like AAVE. There's certain things that it is actually us, and we don't need to fit this white standard. And I feel as a trans person, we don't need to fit cis heteronormativity standard in order to be accepted, to be treated fairly, to have access to resources, have access to things, to have access to celebration, to have access to be celebrated. And realness categories, to me, does the opposite. It sends us back to the 80s. It sends us back to the 70s, where you're trying to prove that you can look exactly like them. So I think the culture of ballroom is beautiful. I think that it's something that is uniquely ours, but I want the ballroom to evolve. I think the dance culture of ballroom is beautiful. It has evolved. We don't see people like why we call it the old way. When we talk about the old way, we don't see people voguing like Willie Ninja back in the day, back then. It has evolved to a more even athletic, to a more softer. It has evolved. People add to it, and it has turned into something new and fresh. Why is realness and all those categories not evolving to something new and fresh? I don't think it's evolving. And I think it's because it's rooted in a problematic idea. It's rooted in I am judging you based on how you look like cisgender people. And that is that root, as my grandmother would call it, the root. That is the root of the problem that I have with ballroom. I think it's a beautiful culture, but I think it's time to evolve. So yes, that's why I don't think about ballroom people being guests. Not that I don't think that they are amazing at what they do. Not that I don't think that they have value. It's just that culture doesn't sit well in my spirit, so I don't look at it as something that I need to spread. Sorry. Wait, why is it similar to the slave trade? Like, because they get raided? I think they're saying it's slave trade. Yes, you're on the block being judged purely physical. So I can see a little bit of that, a little different context, but a little bit of it. Realness should be replaced with modern fashion or something is dated. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. I love Ballroom, but you are nowhere near wrong on this. Yeah, I love Ballroom too. I love watching it. It's particularly like the dance categories, particularly the fashion categories when they got to do runway. I've always been a fan of Bazaar Bazaar. I've always been a fan of that, the creativity of that. Um, yeah, it's really the realness categories that's really like cringy, like ooh. And there was, I remember I went to the latex ball back years ago. When was that? Gosh, latex ball. When was that? Jesus, was it 2014, 13? I don't know when it was. It had to be like 2013, 14. And one of the um one of the categories, the women's runway, a trans girl, a sex change trans girl, tried to walk women's runway. And there was this big thing about, she was like, I got my sex change. I'm a woman. What do you mean? And it was the big thing, but you're a femme queen. And the Butch Queens was like, you're a femme queen, though. You're not a real woman. You're not a cis woman. Wasn't even using cis. They were saying you're not a real woman. You're a femme queen. And so it was literally pushing her out of her womanhood. It was wild. It was all wild and crazy. And they couldn't even barely finish the category because of this whole thing. And everybody in the audience was screaming different things. It was different. Like some people was like, yeah, she's such a she's a woman. And then other people was like, but you're a femme queen. You're not that type of woman. They try to be politically correct, but you still pushing her out of womanhood. It was dramatic. It was crazy. Um, it was wild. It was wild and crazy. And so like people were fighting mad. Like it was like an uproar. And then Jack Mizrazi was like, this is something that we gotta really debate within the culture. We really gotta sit down, and the leaders of the community need to really debate this because she has a point, and then some they have a point. I heard of cis girls pretending to be femme queens. Yeah, that's problematic language that people used to use. Yeah, before cisgender became a popular term. Yeah, it's wild, wild and crazy, wild, wild and crazy. Or with drag and people saying trans women can't do drag. Oh, we are. That's another episode that we're doing. I'm gonna have some drag queens on, and we're gonna discuss that because me coming up in drag, trans women were drag. Like trans women, trans drag was a thing. Yes, like boy queens was a thing as well, but there take you can't look at drag as an artistry and really erase trans drag. When we think about Tommy Ross, Angela Andrews, Erica Andrews, when we think about Raquel Lord, when we think about Jasmine Bonet, when we think about there's tons of trans drag queens that made a mark on drag. And so trying to erase them is transphobic as fuck. So I want to bring some drag queens on that, Tommy Ross lives in Houston. So I tried to get her, but once again, she ignored me. And so, well, no. Tommy didn't ignore me. She just didn't follow up with a date and time for me to set up with her, even though I followed up. So, um, yes. Mm. No, no, they weren't. They weren't openly trans on the show. They became trans after they came out. He doesn't allow you to be trans on the show or openly. Like Carmen Carrera, they all have to lie about it. They have to lie about it until they get in. Yes, but it's after the fact. They have to lie about it to RuPaul to get on the show. They have to lie about it, and it comes out after. Same thing with Carmen Carrera. None of them got on the show being trans because that is a rule of his. Right. He wouldn't let you on. That's the negative. That's the negative part. He wouldn't let you on. Yeah, I love. It doesn't make any sense to me. As if no, and it's your show, so you can do whatever you want. So, but it's super problematic. So I'm gonna have people on to talk about that. Have you heard of Barbie Giselle? Absolutely, I've heard of Barbie. I'm a drag connoisseur. I heard all the drag girls. Absolutely, Miss. I won everything. That is Miss. I won every title that could be won, more than the other girls. She's the one who has won. Barbie has won every title. The other girls have won. Like they did EOI and they did previous to Barbie winning in the International Show Queen. It was the trilogy was the US of A, Continental, EOI, and was it Miss Black? No, those were the main. But there was Miss Black Universe and those kind of things. In MBU is MBU. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Yes. I'm actually working on something else with Giselle. There's some other thing that's potentially happening with us. It's in the beginning stages, so maybe after that, some girls be trying to charge you, like be trying to get you to pay them. I'm not paying you to promote your work. No, that's not how media works. Media don't pay you to be on their shit. Oh gosh. If Chad Michaels and Detox with surgery can compete, why not a trans woman? Why? Yeah, Giselle, we working on something else, so eventually, yeah, it would be dope if you were able to go back and interview some ancestors like Dorian Corey or even March herself. That would be dope. It definitely would be dope if I could. Um, I was rubbed. Oh, also, what's in the works is I am interviewing somebody connected to this brother right here that y'all are going to be surprised about. James Baldwin. It's not him, of course, because he's dead, but somebody very close to him. That's old. I'm trying to make the connection now. It's gonna be amazing. Ooh, just based on us having a phone conversation. But so it's like I need somebody over there to help him technology wise, and keep him safe during COVID. I was rubbed the wrong way when they made fun of Caitlyn, a trans woman. The same episode they kicked off a trans woman um, show of the same show. Yeah, I don't watch it like that, so I don't know the details in that regards. I'd be asking Dorian about the body in the closet. Let me know what's that tea. That's all the tea is going. I need the story. I need to know why you had to knock that motherfucker. That's all. I ain't even talking about no bullshit, Rich. I want to know why you murdered a train and fold his ass up and keep him. That's what I want to know. What was that dirt? That's all I want to know. How about I don't know who that is. I'm a side interstate with black girls gotcha survival. You know, I have no idea who that is. Coconut Princess. You gotta send me like a Twitter message of some stuff on them so I can see what they're about. I don't know them. Um, the first. Oh my god, yes, here for it. I love Baba Baldwin. Yes, yes, yes. I got a connection between somebody that was in his life. Any Jackson, Mississippi Queens. The girls in Mississippi didn't like me, child. They didn't really fuck with me like that. The one that fucked with me, she done passed away. Oh, Carmen. I guess Carmen, but Carmen is kind of stealthy. She don't be trying to be out in the open. You know Carmen? Um, I don't think she's stealth like that, but Carmen, she does hair out in Mississippi in Jackson. She's a stylist. I'm cool with Carmen, and I was cool with Keish, but Keish passed away. The rest of the girls, they were either old or didn't. I saw a conspiracy. It was Venus's killer. Oh yeah, I don't believe that. I think the timing. I think the timing is different, yo. I think Venus timing and Dorian's timing that she killed that person is a different time. Dorian had by the time Venus got killed, Dorian already had the mummy in her body. I mean, the mummy in her box already. So that's not true. Yeah, he had been in the wardrobe way before, probably before Venus was born. Venus was a kid, not a kid, but you know what I mean. She was young. Dorian had already had the body before before she was even not hieroglyphic. Ah, not a Reddit conspiracy. Ah, yes, up like the Egyptian. Um, but yeah, Mississippi Queens were weird to me when I was there. And the only one that I'm connected to right now is Masika. Is that her name? I can't remember. I think it's Masika, Carmen, and that's it. I ain't connected to any other ones. Hey, before now. hmm All right, let me see. What else? What else? Okay, so we talked about Laughing White Black. We talked about. Okay, so let's talk about trans mummies because y'all know we ain't got that much time on here. Um, Trans mummies. So let me click this so I can get it. So let me read it. Doo-doo-doo-doo. So clock this T. Y'all ready? All right. So there was this unusual mummy from Egypt's Roman period. It was found lying in a coffin of a woman dating from an earlier time. From the packing, which emphasizes the shape of breast and thighs, it was assumed the mummy was a female. But x rays taken in the 1960s reveal that it was a man's body underneath all that wrapping. Come on, pads. In Egypt, the painting on the linen represented body tattoos. He may have been a dancer who performed a religious ceremony and banquets because such dancers are known to have these similar tattoos. The embalmers wrapped the body with great care, packing it to give it the shape of a living female body. The facial structures were painted on in the style of the Old Kingdom mummies. The fingers and the toes were all wrapped separately, even in the outer layers. This is very rare. And so, somebody who posted this, they had said, they had made a joke. They said, "Don't worry," the Egyptian says, "Don't worry, we will give you bandage boobs, and gender affirming burial, so that people can see you for who you are in the honey, the other realm, the astral realm, baby. Some white dudes in 1960 misgender the corpse, calling him the male dancer. And I thought this was an interesting concept because think about that. The Egyptians literally burying this male born person, assigned male at birth person, and literally wrapping their body to look like, a feminine entity. That was so powerful to me. I was like, oh my God. Not that I didn't know we existed. It's not that. It's just that they would respect this person's identity to bury them in the way that is respectful of of being a woman. And then come along, then here comes some fucking colonizing ass white motherfuckers in the 60s misgendering this person because they see in the x-rays that this is actually a male body. They literally, exactly, Elle, they didn't want her to be misgendered, or going into the death realm, um, as a boy. Come on, T.S. Cleopatra, word out. It is actually a clip from a textbook. I'll give you the link to the Twitter, and you can ask them how they found it. I just thought it was an interesting thing. Isn't that cool? Now I want to be mummified and pass. Yes. Yes. Give me my shape. That would be so funny. Give me my motherfucking shape, baby. We are everywhere and every time. Absolutely, Coco. We are. Honey, give me body, yaddy, yaddy in the afterlife. That is so cool. You learn something new every day. Yes. It's not that you don't know it, but you just don't always find the particular incidents. We existed in other means of literature and stuff, but it's cool when they find specific situations where this is something. And I thought that was quite interesting. Let me see. On this particular episode of Marsha's Plate, we talk about, if you don't listen to the show, we talk about Sleepaway Camp. If you remember, Sleepaway Camp is a slasher horror film because this is like our Halloween special episode. It's like a slasher horror film where at the end of the show, Angela is revealed to be born a boy. She actually had a twin but the girl was murdered, and the auntie the girl and the father was murdered. So the boy that was left, the aunt already had a son and she wanted a girl, so she raised her as a girl. And so, if you want to hear us talking about Sleepaway Camp, there is the link to Marsha's Plate, where the new episode is about Sleepaway Camp in honor of Halloween. I just read that the mummy was discovered in the archives of Birmingham Museum out the road from there. Boom. Elle, go see what they're talking about. Yes. So we talk about, on the show, we talk about Sleepaway Camp, which came out in 83. If you know me, I was born in 81. So I was a baby. So by the time that I got old enough to understand the film, my mother had it in the house and we would watch it. And it was the first time, even though I didn't identify with her being a killer, but it was the first time that I saw a visual of somebody who physically was like me. I felt like I was a girl as a trans little kid. And I was like, oh my God, she has a pee-pee like me. because I'm too young to get the context of, you know what I'm saying, of transness. I didn't have the language or anything like self identification where I was trying to figure it out. And so seeing this person, I was like, oh, what? So I remember being in the bathroom and especially gay boys, gay boys and trans kids assigned male and birth people. How you put your shirt over your head. How you put your shirt over your head, like your t-shirt, you put your head through the t-shirt and it be hanging like this. And you all pretty like this. But it be a t-shirt. I used to be in the mirror, butt naked as a little kid with a little t-shirt over my head, swinging it. Swinging it. Thinking I was the one and only girl, honey. My mother would, I would have to lock the door so my mother would open the door and ride t-shirt wigs. The first lace fronts, baby. I would have to lock the door so my mother wouldn't come in. And she'll be like, you don't be locking no doors in my house. Don't be locking no doors in my house, baby. So I just remember the visual, her having her hair long, and after she had cut that boy head off and she was standing there like, I had a shirt. In the video I posted, I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna post it on Patreon. In the video of me interviewing her about the show, I have a shirt that says "Mood" and has Angela's face on it when she's at the end, like, and it's so cute. So I think I wore that. Did I wear it on last episode? But I don't know. I can't remember. But ordered it. Yes. But yes, it just made me think out. It made me think about it made me connect with her, not as a killer, but as a, what? This is possible? That was cool. So all right, it's 1:34, and y'all know I don't like to go over 2 hours or I'll delete it. So I'm trying to keep this one up. Let's talk about So recently I was featured in an article by Terrell Starr of The Root. That article right there, and it is about trans voting and some of the disparities and roadblocks that trans people can have in the 2020 election. So make sure y'all read that article. It is me, Mariah Moore, and some other folks, I think, and it kind of goes into some details that can happen. That can happen for a trans person that gives them roadblocks to voting. So at election day is the 3rd. I know y'all have been hearing it all year, but it's really quite important. This is one of the, I know they said that last time, that this is one of the most important elections of our time. And I don't think they believed it in 2016, but I hope y'all believe it in 2020. Because trans people have been particularly disparaged by this administration in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. So, 1 second. So when we talk about this election this 2016, one of the effects of this administration in 2016 is I know that y'all may not have put this all together, but or y'all have because y'all are bright, brilliant people. But if you have not, just in this 4 years, we've had him roll back some health protections of trans people, allowing doctors and hospitals to turn us away just based on religious beliefs, which is crazy because particularly in our Constitution, they were really particular about separating church and state. So the fact that you are really allowing people to go against their oath to take care of people as doctors and medical professionals, um, to be able to turn away people based on religion, that type of rollback of our health rights is human rights is crazy. That happened within this 4 years. The banning of trans people in the military happened within this 4 years. You know, people had careers happening that they were actually in when it comes to trans folks in military. That was some people's plan to be a patriot and fight for this country. So making the connection, making the cultural context connection is trans people, because of their transness, are being disenfranchised from patriotism in the same way that Black people in the past. And we're not saying that these are the same contexts, but I'm giving you, I think in order to make connections with people, you have to see the connections and how your life reflects some of the oppression that's happening in other people's lives. And so this does not separate because there are Black trans people that exist, but I want to give you some kind of context of how your transness and your Blackness could be oppressed in similar ways for various reasons, but the outcome is the same. And so in that way, you can't even be patriot. You can't even be a patriot. They're not allowing you to actually fight for your country as a patriot because you're trans. And that's what they used to do to Black people until it was convenient for them. Then they allowed them to be on the front lines in Vietnam and the front lines in the civil rights so they can be the first people to be killed because it was convenient to have them be the first people in the front lines to be killed. So yes, so you really have to think about that context in how you play a part, how these laws and things play a part in disenfranchising us against just our basic rights as a citizen and just being a citizen, and how we are different, how there's nuances and how we are pushed out of that kind of narrative in being citizens. I hope that makes sense. Um, So that when it comes to HUD housing, like literally, we're some of the most marginalized people when it comes to housing, and there's tons of unsheltered trans people. So the fact that you are making it hard to get access under HUD, under this administration, hard to get access to HUD, governmentally funded housing, literally not allowing us, people who need shelter, making it hard for us to get that shelter. So these are some of the things, one of many, a few of many things that this administration has done to push trans folks' advancement back. And so think about if they have done this in the first 4 years. Y'all remember what happened with Obama. You know, when Obama was going, the first 4 years, he was kind of tiptoeing, doing this, doing that, oh, this, the, kind of, we want to play across the lines. We want to, we want to play nice and reach across the aisle. And then, but in his next 4 years, he got a little bit more, because he couldn't run again for a third term. So he could talk his shit. He could say what he wanted to say. He can be a little bit more real. Not totally, but a little bit more real. Think about that same kind of freedom in a Trump presidency. He got the first 4 years. Look how bold and disgusting he is in this 4 years. Look at the lies that he tells. Think about if he doesn't have to run for office again. What is he going to say and do? This fool didn't got impeached and was able to, because of the Senate, was able to. Oh well. So think about what could happen if he push us back. I just don't want to see that. So I really want us to really vote within our interests. Um, I know a lot of people here that if you're listening to me, you probably are not a Trump supporter. But even if you are a supporter who is thinking about not voting or thinking about sitting this one out, if you can, I want you to find it in your heart to vote for people who do care about this. You may not care, or you care, or you just don't think it's a powerful thing. Put your vote in for the sake of us, for the sake of people on your side that do think it matters. Because voting is a tool. It is not the end all. It is not the end. Oh, it's gonna change everything if Biden wins. Of course, fucking not. He wasn't my first choice when it comes to Democratic candidate. Biden wasn't my first choice at all. But this is what we have, and so it's about choosing our opponent and like who are we going to be when we're trying to get stuff done. Are we going to be battling Trump? Or are we going to be battling Biden? I much rather battle a moderate Democrat than a fucking full-fledged racist Republican. To me, I just feel like it's that's just a better fight. That's just an easier fight. So even if you don't care, even if you don't care and you think it's something that is futile or useless, do it just for us. I mean, what is it going to harm you? Just go to the polls, put your little vote in our favor, your people, your community. Exactly. And then we can do the work. I found an early voting center in my state. I'm going to vote early tomorrow morning. Well, John, I'm not 100% for sure, but I thought that early voting closes on Friday the 30th. I would be scared if they were playing, if somebody told you that that was it, because I don't think, I think early voting is over on the 30th. What state are you in? I know Texas, it ends the 30th. So I don't know what state you in where it might be longer. It might be further extended. What state is that? Maryland? Let me. Oh yeah, you're okay. You're okay in Maryland. You're okay. Early voting goes all the way until, yeah, you're okay. Maryland voting, they go. Texas is trying to suppress votes, baby. So yes, Maryland, y'all vote until the second. Yeah, so y'all, honey, suppress votes, so they stopping folks from voting on the 30th, and we don't get to vote again until the third. But yes, go vote. Go vote in the morning. Vote for senators, congresswomen to go all the way down. All the way down. Don't just do president. Go all the way down. Blue, 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 blue. Let's actors. Yes, you got to. That is an important call out, Brandon. One of the things that we got to talk about, really, for real, is local on your local city, state level. That is what affects you personally. So when you talk about the type of tax you have, when we talk about your roadways and the potholes and shit in your city, how much the minimum wage is in your area, all that stuff is affected by your local votes. The presidency, that don't always affect you as directly as your local. Your local is way, way more direct. So make sure that you are voting in your local elections as well, particularly in your districts, about your city council people. All that stuff is really important to your day-to-day life that you see when you go out your door. So make sure that you are paying attention to what's happening in votes. And during the 4-year presidential elections, they always vote, 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 and then it dies down. But you got to be the same enthusiastic. We're breaking numbers. We're breaking records with the of early voting and the numbers of voting just period now. But we got to do that in that midterm too, because the midterm elections are important too, because that's how we get these senators out. That's how we get these the House of Representatives out. Look at what happened with Trump election with this last midterm, with the most women in office compared to anybody else. They actually are literally changing, the Republicans are changing their tactics. I haven't seen so many Republican candidates here in Texas. Wesley Hunt and going to Lizzie Fletcher. Wesley Hunt is a Republican. They using black people to come in and try to infiltrate. They literally are using black people more often than not. But we know, yes, Brandon, we know that all skin folk ain't kin folks. But look at them being forced to change their tactics. Look at these people. Look at these coon ass rich celebrities. No, let me rephrase that. Rich black male celebrities who have, I talked about it earlier, who have forgotten what it was like to be a young black person. These fucking rapper ass motherfucking niggas, they came from the hood. They came from the hood. These ain't no middle. Some of them nowadays in this era, but back in the day, rappers that y'all here talking about when we talk about O'Shea, what's his name? Ice Cube, Jay-Z, Kanye West, these old niggas, 50 Cent or whoever else, these motherfuckers, Wayne, case because he came into money at a very young age, 11-ish. So he really made, even though he grew up in the hood too when he was a baby kid, but at a very young age. So he might have an illusion of grandeur in his mind that disconnects him from that. So you see what I'm saying? He might be a little bit different, but them other motherfuckers, the Ice Cube and them other coons, baby, they have no excuse. They're thinking like they're rich self, but they're forgetting about, they don't want to be taxed to be able to fund programs that would have helped them when they was a kid. They have done what a lot of black men, particularly cishet black men, want to do. They just flipped. I'm white in blackface. I'm a capitalist in blackface, and that's what I do. They don't understand how it affects their old community, not their community now, because they ain't been in the hood in a long time. Their credibility is gone. Let me see. So make sure if you are going to vote, particularly in Texas, I always talk from a Texas point of view because I'm a Texas bitch now. But a lot of this applies. Um, a lot of this applies to everywhere. I think that you there can be incidents of those type of situations which could deter a trans person from actually going to the polls. And so if you go with a group of people, it kind of reduces that kind of anxiety. You have your Judy's with you, bitch. We all can get clocked. It don't matter. We here to vote. Fuck you. Everybody don't got the confidence like me, don't got the confidence maybe like you. But some people, and they're not going to tell you. There's some girls who, because we got this thing about passing and the competition of passing, if they're worried about passing at the polls, they're not going to tell you, girl. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm worried about getting clocked. I don't even want to go get polls. They're not going to tell you. Tell that bitch, come on, we going together to reduce the anxiety because there's a competition in our community about passing and we don't want to be the clock girl in the group. So if you're trying to organize your people to go vote, you need to calm that shit down and be like, girl, we gonna all go vote together. It don't matter if we getting clocked, da 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 da. Make a bitch comfortable and not worrying about it so that she can go to the poll booths with you and not worry about getting clocked. And it reduces the incidence of violence because if it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of y'all at the poll booth, ain't nobody gonna be extra because y'all get read and cussed out. So really think about how you can make people more comfortable with going to the booth. Now, voter ID laws has been a tool of white supremacy to suppress votes. Has been a tool of the rich class, people who are rich, tool to suppress votes. It has been a classic way that people can suppress votes, right? So your ID has to match the name on your registration. You ain't got to worry about if you look like your ID. As far as like, because I know some trans people, their ID was taken a couple of years ago and they done got on hormones and they look like a total different person. Long as it is you on your ID and the name matches the registration. And some places the name can be close. That's another thing. Some places close. So if you had to change one letter to make it more feminine or whatever, however you had to play the game, however you had to play the game, it can be close. Definitely look into your state and your state rules around voter ID to make sure that you align with those rules so they can't turn you away. Got it? I think of all the trans shit. So definitely ID. Going in groups so you don't have to feel anxiety. What else? What are y'all thinking about as we speak about this? Oh, if it's closed, like if you can't get off of work early in time, long as you're in line, you have the right to vote. Long as you're in line, you have the right to vote. They can't turn you away saying they're gonna close. Long as you're in line, you good. Have to be in line. Also, there may be some anxiety. You might have some during election night. There might be some anxiety around getting the results. I need you to be prepared. Need you to be prepared to not get the results like we normally do. COVID is a bitch ass motherfucker, and it has forced certain things to change, and we might not get the results of the election like we normally do on election night. And we don't want the shit that happened in is it 2004 when Roger Ailes and Fox and them called the election, even though Florida wasn't wasn't counted yet and they needed a recount. They called the election for Bush and pushed him to be the winner. So much so that they couldn't undo it, even though Gore won Florida. Was it 2000? I can't remember. 2000, 2004, somewhere around there. Yes. So that bullshit. So now be prepared that may not get because what's going on with COVID and the counting shit and blah 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 and the suppression of votes, we might not get the results that night. Be prepared for that, so don't be anxious about it or frustrated. Be mentally prepared that we might not get the results on that day like we normally do. So remember what Miss Thing from The Wiz told you. Remember Miss One told you. Remember Miss Diamond told you. Be prepared, mentally prepared to not be able to get the results on that night. Check your job regulations. You might be able to get off on voting also, or they let you go. You might be able to get off. Also, you might be able to go. They give you more time to go to the polls. That's what my job did at the time when I was working at Bath and Body Works. We were able to take an extra hour off when I worked there. But all right, we got one more minute. Yes, so that is voting. We covered a lot of stuff. That was cute. I love that. We covered a lot of stuff. So that's it, y'all. I will see y'all next week. Like I said, follow Marsha's Plate. Go subscribe. You need to watch Marsha's Plate. Listen to Marsha's Plate. If you are not a patron, that's where I put my videos up. That's where YouTube ain't paying me, child. YouTube is very funny about making all my fucking videos. It like the algorithm is transphobic and anti-black. If I talk about anything that is if I talk about stop eating fast food, why are you worried about what I'm eating? I'm grown. I eat what the fuck I want, bitch. So when you think about people are so weird. What I eat don't make you shit food. You worried about what's going in your mouth. You worried about what's going in your mouth, then you ain't got to worry about what's going in mine. So where YouTube is being very extra, you don't need to worry about me. I'm grown. I'm okay. Worry about you, Dusty. So when you think about well, yeah, threw me off. Oh, that pissed me off. Oh, YouTube. Anyway, YouTube, anytime I talk about blackness, anytime I talk about anything that they deem controversial, transness, blackness, because I'm far left, it's a controversial subject matter. So they can't put ads on my fucking videos. So that's why I don't be making videos for YouTube no more. So I make videos and put them unlisted and then put them on my Patreon. And then, that's the way I monetize. So that's why I put stuff. So of course I'm gonna do my live show for free because it's fun. And it's like, hey, da 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 da. But I don't be wanting to create content for YouTube like that because they be playing games with my money. And so fuck y'all. Not y'all, but YouTube. YouTube is whack. And so that's why I've really just want to do my live show. I put videos up, like little snippet of interviews just so y'all can do it. But they have really changed the ability to monetize. And it's just not as good as it was. So You know, I don't be wanting to put in the work of editing and blah 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 blah. And you know, I got like 10,000 some subscribers, and because of the content, they only showing it to fucking 10% of people of the 10,000. And people always hit me up. Like when this video go up, somebody's gonna hit me up and say, "Oh my god, I didn't know you were still making videos. I've been subscribed to you." Da, 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 da. And it didn't pop up. So make sure y'all hit the bell notification, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. And all my links are in the bottom, so check it out. And I really be talking about shit on my podcast, so listen to the podcast. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening.